Tokens of Peace by Mary Vee. In the distant north, where Mother Earth blanketed the ground in thick frozen white, and summer was but a brief guest, lived a polar bear cub. Due to the laws of the wild, her mother was hunted, leaving the cub to survive on her own. From afar, a fledgling snowy owl spied a ball of white fur playing in the snow. It slid down hills and made snowballs. It ran and tumbled. The creature, no bigger than the owl, had such fun that Snowy Owl wanted to join in the play. He landed near a ball of white fur and asked, "Can I play with you?" Polar Cub shook flecks of snow and ice from her face. Never before had she seen a snowball fly or heard one speak. She scooped up the snowball, and although he wiggled and squirmed like no other snowball, she patted it between her paws. Snowball giggled and laughed. "That tickles." Snowball wiggled free. He stretched out his young wings as far as he could, folded in a mound of snow, scooped it up, and tossed it at Polar Cub. The ball of white fur tumbled backward and laughed. They played the whole day while a big yellow ball in the sky slowly, ever so slowly, moved toward the edge of the earth. At dinner time, a hoo call came from afar. Snowball stopped his play and turned his head in the direction of the call. When the hoo sounded again, he spread his wings and leaped into the sky. Polar Cub sat in a mound of ice and watched. Snowball didn't fall back to the ground like other snow. He floated higher and flew farther and farther, leaving Polar Cub all alone. Polar Cub's tummy made a noise. Her mom had always fed her. She sat, keeping her balance with her front paws, and roared, but the sound was too small for her mama to hear. Too small for any polar bear to hear. She rolled in the snow, creating a blanket, and fell asleep. When she awoke, Big Yellow Ball brought light. Polar Cub played in the snow. It wasn't as much fun as playing with Snowball. Her tummy roared, so she roared, except her roar was much softer, and no one heard. She looked to the sky and wished Snowball would come back. At that very moment, a snowball appeared in the sky. It grew bigger the closer it flew. It was her friend Snowball. He landed nearby and dropped something on the ground. "This is for you." She sniffed the present. It smelled good. Not like Mama's milk, but still good. She ate the present and was amazed at how much better she felt. "Thank you." "If you could fly," said Snowball, "you could come live at my house with my family." Polar Cub tried. She raised her arms and moved them. She jumped. She climbed a hill and leaped. Snowball put his wings under Polar Cub's legs and lifted, but she didn't fly. The cub soon outgrew her friend, and her roar intensified. At times, Snowball was frightened of Polar Cub. One day he cried when she roared. He flew away and never returned. Polar Cub roared that she was sorry, but Snowball didn't fly back. Smitten with deep sorrow, Polar Cub covered up with snow and fell into a deep sleep that never wakened on Mother Earth. Night Sky looked down on Polar Cub and gathered her in his arms. He took her home and cradled the lonely cub. Polar Cub opened her eyes and saw only darkness. Flecks of snow sparkled in night sky as far as she could see. Far below was Mother Earth. "Imagine that," she said. "I finally flew." Snowball said if I could fly, I could live with her family. She scanned the snowy land below for Snowball, excited to play with him again. From the tip of her tail, a light suddenly burst. A light so bright even Snowball would be able to find her. That night, Snowball woke from his day's sleep and set out to hunt for food. A bright star appeared, shining down and directing him to a tasty meal. He looked to night sky and saw his long-ago friend, Polar Cub. "My friend, you flew!" He spread his large wings, for they had grown to be very big, scooped up snow, and tossed it in the air. To Polar Cub's delight, the flecks of snow twinkled, dotting the sky. She collected them in a little dipper and dropped them back into Snowball. And so, from that day forward, Polar Cub shined her bright light on earth for her friend Snowball and prepared for the next night of play. This has been Mary Vee, reading The Tokens of Peace.